All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm just going to introduce myself and John. My name is Gillian Diamond. I'm the Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition here at Entertainment Partners. What that means is I am the Manager of Recruiting, essentially, and I do the hiring for the whole company. John Cummins on my team is also on my team as well, and he handles the same job that I have as well. So we are usually the ones that are going to be doing these information sessions. So welcome to everybody that joined us again. For those of you that came on a few minutes after, thank you again for trying. If you did yesterday, I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties, but today, obviously, we're on point. It's Tuesday, so that's my excuse. Mondays don't work for me. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good school year so far. I know it's obviously a very weird year, but you know, it's great that we're still able to do things like this virtually. And you know, thank you again for joining us. We're going to be doing these periodically throughout the fall season, and you're welcome to join. They're pretty much essentially the same information every time, but we always welcome people back. So thank you again for joining us. We have a little video that John is going to play for us that shows a little bit of background about Entertainment Partners and what we do. We like this video because it shows us throughout the decades, and our production department internal made it for our clients who are the studios. So this has been shown to all the major studios. So take a look, let us know if you can't hear it.
All right, here we go.
Since the inception of production offices, paper has always been a burden. Lots of start paperwork. More and more paper time cards. Petty cash was difficult to manage. Schedule
freezes a little bit here and there.
That's my bad. I clicked the chat box, and so it's going to buffer a little bit.
Rules and budgets needed updating and distributing. There was manual accounting and handoffs of ledgers. In the 80s, EP set out to improve the process, but the production office lacked automation. Everything was still manual and with more compliance. While aimed at reducing it, computers create more paper. Crumpled receipts are turned in or sometimes lost. Errors were virtually unavoidable. Photocopies of schedules and budgets are still distributed by hand. EP breaks ground with the first cost report, but still, printers and paper prevail. But we have resolve. Today's smart office has start paperwork, done online. Digital time cards submitted automatically and calculated accurately. Debit cards replace cash, and transactions are instantly available for review. Immediate access to the latest schedules and budgets with publishing and distributing a click away. Smart accounting that is accessible by anyone, from anywhere, and it all feeds into the secure Studio Hub. Say goodbye to paper. Say goodbye to distribution by hand. And say goodbye to the production office as you have always known it. This is Smart Studio. The production office in the palm of your hand.
Thanks, John. I always like that video. It makes me want to, I don't know, jump up and dance in between the different decades. But anyway, I hope that gives you guys a brief idea of what we do. That kind of highlighted one of our products, but just for those of you that aren't familiar with Entertainment Partners, what we do is we are the partner to the major studios when they are running their productions, we provide them with all different types of services. So anything from technology, like they just talked about in the video we just watched, Smart Studio is a suite of different products that we offer to the studios. Anything from like budgeting, scheduling software. So for example, if the crew is working on the productions and they need a schedule, they can use our software to help create that schedule, or an accounting software to help them create the budget for the production. So that's one of our services. We also, as you guys know, we are mostly known for our payroll services. We pay all the actors, crew members, anybody on a production. So that's another part of our service. We also handle residuals, which is paying out people who are on those the reruns. We'll go into that later. And then we also provide other services such as central casting. We're going to go into that as well, with background actors. This is a slide a little bit more about our technology, Smart Studio, that they highlighted in that video. These are our most current and most popular products. Smart accounting is what I was mentioning that you can use as far as creating a budget and following that. The production accountants on the productions would be using that. Smart time helps you with the time cards. Synchronize actually allows you to upload your script and keep it confidential. And also so it's not paper. So all of our most recent products were created pre-pandemic. So we're actually a little ahead of the curve. I like the fact that we're digitalized already, because it's going to help the productions in the future when they are running, so they can digitalize and continue to digitalize everything if they haven't been. We also have the residuals where they can track their residuals, a mobile account, Smart Hub, as well as residuals portal where they can check their pay, and the smart cards as well. So we have a whole suite of accounts, and the name is Smart Studio. We're trying to get all of our clients off of the old products and bring them all onto these products. So that's part of our technologies, just so you are familiar with that. And if anybody has any questions, they can ask me about that as well. And I did want to preface earlier that unfortunately due to the pandemic, we're currently not hiring, but I am anticipating, John and I are anticipating hopefully hiring closer towards a little bit later in the fall, towards the winter. We're going to be highlighting some of the jobs that we know will be opening up. And central casting is one of our divisions that I was going to talk about, where we typically usually have openings. We also have an internship program that happens every summer that we're going to highlight as well. We're hoping to have that back next year. We unfortunately weren't able to have it this last year due to COVID. So we're 100% remote right now. There's a few of us that are in the office, but we're very similar to you guys. We're all virtual as well, and kind of navigating through these strange territory right now. So just so you have an idea of what central casting is, they have their own branding, but they are part of Entertainment Partners. We bought them out I think it was about 20 years ago, maybe in the 90s. And they've been underneath our umbrella. We're all coworkers as well. And we do hire for a role called a casting assistant. John's going to maybe go into a little bit more about that. But this slide shows you just a few of the people who have become background actors under central casting. What central casting does is they allow people who want to become background actors register with us, and then they're put into this huge database. And when our casting assistants get calls from the studios, like let's say they want someone that looks like Brad Pitt, they would call Brad Pitt up and be like, hey, we need you for this background role. So that's pretty much what a casting assistant would do. So some of our alumni include, as you can see, Brad Pitt. We do have a conference room named after him, or we used to in one of our older buildings. In addition, we have Ava Longoria is another one, Rami Malek, Randall Park, Olivia Munn. So we've got a lot of cool alumni to take a look at, but I'm going to hand this over to John now to talk a little bit further about central casting.
Thank you, Gillian. And, like she said, the casting assistants, their main role is going to be managing that database. So for central casting, if you were interested in being an actor, or you wanted to get your start or explore that world, one place you would go is central casting, to where you can register to be a background actor. And what our casting assistants are going to do is they're going to manage that database. So like Gillian mentioned earlier, they're going to partner a lot with the studios, especially on the production side, on what they're looking for a particular part. So they'll they'll sift through that database to find the people who meet the demographic for that role, and then they'll begin to reach out to them in various ways, whether that's text messaging, phone calls, emails, or even social media. They'll utilize every form of communication at their disposal to just reach out to anybody within that database that would be interested in the role, and then ultimately set them up for the production. So our casting assistants have very strong customer service skills, as well as building relationships and workability with the different productions. You could be working with, it could be the producer, or it could just be one of the PAs that are on the set as well. So just being able to communicate effectively and build strong relationships with those individuals is going to be key for that position, as well as being very personable and supportive to the individuals who are interested in doing background work or exploring a career within acting. That's going to be some skills that are going to be sharpened within that role. It is a very demanding role. The hours can be pretty long, especially since that we will be at the disposal for our clients. So sometimes there could be adjustments to production. Maybe the timeline's going to shift a little bit to the right, or things may have to get bumped up earlier. So it's going to be on the casting assistants to make sure that everyone involved in that production on their side, so all the talent, is notified of those changes. So that's something else that the casting assistants have to kind of maintain and juggle in terms of the responsibility, is not just making sure that they're filling the requirements for those roles, but also making sure that the talent is staying informed of any kind of changes that are going on. Now, just kind of moving on to our other opportunity, Gillian mentioned this earlier, residuals. So she touched on it briefly, but I'll just go ahead and explain what residuals are. So these are going to be union negotiated payments that writers, actors, directors, and others receive from a studio producer or distribution when a production is being put out. So let's take, for instance, my favorite example is Friends. That's one of my favorite shows growing up. So that one's always replayed on so many different stations. So there's different markets that though they're going to get residuals payments for, and it's not just the actors. So it's not just going to be Jennifer Aniston or Matthew Perry who's going to be getting these residual payments. It's also going to be everybody involved. So people behind the scenes, such as the background actors or the lights and sounds people, even the people who are helping with setting up the sets, they're all going to be owed a residuals payment as well for those, although they're not getting a bigger as big of a piece of the pie as Jennifer Aniston might be getting. They're still owed something, and that's going to be negotiated on the terms of their union. So being a residual analyst, one thing that you're going to have to be familiar with are the different negotiations and contracts that these guilds have worked out. So the attention to detail is very key in this position, being able to one, navigate those contracts and understand them, and then know where to deal things out. So, but as I mentioned earlier, there are different markets. So depending on which market the show is airing on, will depend on how that residual payment is going to work. So some of the markets that we'll be looking at is going to be basic cable. So if you have like Time Warner Cable or AT&T Universe, whenever Friends or The Office, another popular show, if it's airing on, say, like TBS or Comedy Central, one of the other basic cable stations, that's what's going to then generate that residual payment. And our residual analysts will review those contracts and deal it out based on the terms negotiated by the union for that individual. Now, some of the other markets will be pay for TV. So this can be a little bit confusing, especially seeing how HBO is putting out their own app now, HBO Max. But if you had like Time Warner Cable and you paid for your subscription through there, then that would fall into a pay TV category. So the same for Stars and Showtime as well. All those ones that are like additional add-ons to your cable package, that is a separate residual market. Now we have the new media, so that's where we're seeing like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV, all those new media markets that are coming out where they're generating a separate form of residual payment. So whenever shows re-air on Netflix, so Netflix used to have The Office, but now that's gone, but they have several other great shows that are on there as well. Those are going to trigger different residual payments from those as well, including the new content that they got coming out. So, Netflix has been putting out a lot of great shows over the past couple of years. So now whenever we replay those or re-enjoy those are going to trigger a residual payment that our analysts are going to be on top of and responsible for making sure those payments get out to the right person. Now to kind of like take a little shift here, we're going to move more towards our internship program. So our internship program, it does span all across the company. So it's not just going to be, in the residuals environment or in the central casting. It's also going to be in our legal, as well as our sales and marketing teams, and even technology, as well as some of the other COEs that we have or departments that we have within our company. Now, these internships, how they're designed is it's going to give you a real world experience of what it's like to work in a corporate setting. So it's not going to be, your stereotypical internship where you're kind of playing the role of a gopher. Go for coffee, go for bagels. It's not going to be like that. You're going to actually have some responsibilities delegated to you by your manager, who will be overseeing your work and guiding you through what it's like working within that specific department. So they'll be giving you meaningful work. So for instance, one of our bigger internship programs, usually within finance, they usually have several seats there, and that's because the interns who come in there, they're going to be working on projects that are going to be meaningful to the department. So you're going to get that experience of getting exposed to the different reports that our finance department is going to be doing. And the same for like our sales and marketing teams or even our product management teams. You're going to get that experience of what it's like to oversee a product in terms of its development, and what it's like to manage the different scrums and the different levels of a technical project that's going on, or in terms of the sales and marketing, all the efforts that are going to go into developing the different marketing and sales schemes that they have to target individual clients or an individual market. So it's not going to be that droll assignment. There will be some exciting stuff for you to do, as well as different activities that HR and our other counterparts will be putting on to help you help foster growth as you're going through this internship. So right here we have what the typical schedule would look like. Our internship program does run 8 weeks. Usually starts about the beginning of June and runs to about mid-July. So about an 8-week program. And we're gonna, on top of your assignments that you'll have within your individual department, you're also gonna have different activities that you'll participate that'll be put on by various individuals, either within HR or from other departments. The first one you see here is just orientation and business writing. So it'll just give you a chance to get familiarized with the company as well as your fellow internees, and then it'll give you that introduction on how to properly communicate within a business setting via email, most specifically, or we use Teams internally. But I'm sure other companies have different chat features within their own organization, but we would give you, the period of instruction around communicating via email as well as in Teams. But basically, it's just going to go over etiquette, how to properly, address your emails, what kind of information you want to put in there, and then, of course, closing it out as well. So that way, it just keeps it very professional, and it sets you up for success when moving into your career in the future.
Yeah,
The
it's
next
very.
one. Oh, go ahead, Gillian.
Sorry, John. I jumped in. It's also very different than writing in school, because you're probably communicating a lot with your students, your fellow students, your teachers, your instructors, whoever else. And I'm sure you do have to talk in some professional way, but it's really different when you are communicating, and each company has its own culture and the way that they communicate, like John was saying. So I think also week 2 with the communication style, that also covers like the kind of the culture of how each company can handle, and we teach that to you. So I think that that's a great area to cover. And then we also have a scavenger hunt that I really like, and that covers you are allowed to all get together, all the interns, and it's you have an allotted amount of time to complete a scavenger hunt with prizes. And it's really fun, and they get to meet everybody in the company according to the scavenger hunt. And it's just like a fun way to bond with your fellow interns. The whole program really is, because it's an 8-week program. So it's pretty long, and you have the opportunity to have lunch together and do the other activities on the bottom together, weekly check-in sessions, networking, lunch with the CEO, lunch with the CFO, things like that.
And one other thing about that scavenger hunt, it's also going to give you the exposure to the different COEs. We have days set up to where you'll kind of do some cross training. So if you did come in and say as like in the finance department, you would get other opportunities to go not work in the separate departments, but at least get an experience of what's going on there, as well as networking with other people from different departments to see what their job is, because a lot of people going to college, they may not know what direction they necessarily want to head in. So this will kind of give them that opportunity to explore other areas and see if there's any interest outside of what they initially thought they were interested in. So it's going to give you an opportunity to go to central casting, see what that environment's like, and what the casting assistants and casting directors go through on a daily basis. So it'll give you that little bit of exposure. And then the network training, that's kind of what I was hinting on there, where you'll get to network from different with people from different departments. They'll usually pick like 1 or 2 representatives to come, and they'll meet with you, and they can then answer any questions that you may have around that department, around that specific job, in terms of what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. And then we'll help develop some other skills as well, such as presenting. I know presentations in college, I remember when I was going through, that seemed to be a pain point for some people, and then it's a strength for others. So we have several people in our company who are very skilled in presenting, and so they'll come and they'll give you their tips and tricks on how they handle presentation in terms of preparing and then actual execution on the day of. Now week 6, this is where myself and Gillian and then other team members would jump in and get like hands-on with you in terms of developing your resume, giving you some tips and tricks that we've seen from the many resumes that we've gone through, as well as just kind of like helping you shape it so you can be more successful whenever you do start to apply for positions, whether they're internships during college or you're going for that full-time position post-grad. And then, of course, LinkedIn. In this day and age, social media is king right now, and so LinkedIn is a great tool to use. We'll take this time and opportunity to show you how to set that up, so that way you can have a very professional and presentable profile that'll aid you in your job search. Because as a recruiter, I'll be honest with you, LinkedIn is something that I always want to go look at. Everybody has one this day and age, especially if you're trying to work in the corporate arena. That's something that you're going to want, one, so you can showcase your strategies as well as your work history, as well as just being able to connect with other people who are in your field, and be able to have those conversations and pick their brain and grow your toolbox. I have a couple of success stories from my past where LinkedIn has been very successful, especially getting into this job. I got connected with a lot of good recruiters who were able to give me some tips and tricks, so that way I could be better successful as I'm going forward in my career. And then the next one, interviewing strategies. We all know how stressful that can be. Some people are better at it than others, but nonetheless, it's always better to be prepared for your interviews. So that's why we'll take this time to, again, walk you through the experiences that we've had as recruiters, and tell you what we're looking for, as well as some things that you can do heading into it to make it a more painless process, because sometimes it can be very stressful, but it really doesn't have to be. So preparation is key. That's the biggest thing for me when going into interviews. I always want to make sure that I know as much as possible about the company, as well as the position that I'm going for. That way you can go in and present yourself in the best way. And then finally, to wrap up the internship in week 8, it's going to be your final presentation. So this presentation, it's just going to be a summary of what you learned and what you experienced during your internship. So, like I mentioned earlier, you will have that individual project that's associated with your internship, so with that specific department, and you're basically going to just a small group of people. It's usually going to be your peers, as well as maybe a few people from that you worked with within that department that'll show up for that presentation, listen to it, and it'll just be a short summary of what you learned, and it'll also be a way for you to execute those presentation skills that you'll get taught on in week 5. Now, one thing that I do want to address, because it's come up a couple times in our past internships, is that this schedule can be a little bit busy. So you're going to have your project that you have with the individual department, and then you're also going to have these activities. And so at times, it can seem like, oh, there's just not enough time in the day to do the task that you have at hand. And so that's where we come back to that real life experience in terms of working in a corporate setting. It's really going to teach you to manage your time, so that way you can apply yourself fully to each project that you have there. Because especially in the corporate setting, mine and Gillian's position specifically, sometimes it just doesn't seem like there's enough time in the day. But if you organize correctly, there is definitely enough time to be able to attend to all the different projects, and make it feel like you've been able to apply yourself fully to each one. So you do get that experience in terms of having to really look at your workload, and then make sure that you're managing your time appropriately, so that way you can attend to each project with as much as possible. So that's going to be the gist of our internship program, as well as a few of the positions that we will have available in the future. At this time, we do want to open it up to any of you who may have some questions for us. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chat box. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and we'll be able to address them now.
John, our emails were on that first slide, right?
Yeah, and I'll put them in here in the chat box as well.
Okay.
So in case you guys, if you don't have any questions now, that's okay. You can always reach out to us either on LinkedIn or via our emails, and you can address any questions that you have with us there, and we'll be happy to respond.
Yeah, I realized there's one role we didn't actually talk about that's also really important. We also have what's called an assistant paymaster, and then you can grow up in level within the company. It's in our payroll department. That's the group that helps pay out all of the different people that are working on the production. It's a great way to get into the company, and it's a great way to grow in your skill set. We do require someone who has had, maybe an internship, some work experience, customer service, and mostly if you have an interest in numbers, that does help. So you'll be basically keying in payments for each individual that works on the productions, and that is a bulk of the job. It also includes working with other clients that we have, so you have to have some customer service skills as well. So the roles that we're usually always hiring for are the assistant paymaster, the residuals analyst, which is what John was talking about with the reused markets with streaming and cable and basic cable, and then also this casting assistance, and then the internship program. So those are usually the positions we discussed during this presentation. It looks like there's one question.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like Tran's asking about the application process. So the application process for the internship or a regular full-time position will be very similar. So we have a careers page. It's ep.com/careers, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box for you. So if you want to go and check out the careers page, we have some jobs posted now. That way you can kind of see what the process looks like, but there'll be more, especially once we get into that hiring phase. But the application process is essentially the same. You'll go to the careers page. If you're looking for the internships, we usually start posting those about April, beginning of May. Though usually April. May is a little bit kind of getting close to too late, but April for sure they're probably going to go up. So you'll just find the internship that you want there. You'll fill out the application, and then it'll be sent there, and that's where we'll do a lot of the reviewing. You can also reach out to us via email. So after you apply on ep.com careers, you could also send me an email, be like, hey, here's my resume. I just applied for this position, and then we'll be able to locate you on the careers page, as well as reach out to you via email. That way we can set up a phone call. But the application process is exactly the same. So if you're going for full-time, whether it's a casting assistant, paymaster, residuals, or any one of our other positions throughout the company, it'd be exactly the same. You'll start out on ep.com careers. We'll review your resume and we'll reach out to set up a time. That way we can discuss the position as well as any other questions that you may have around that. But I hope that answers your question in terms of that. It's in the gist, just basically the same process for both.
Yeah, good question. We treat the internship just like a regular full-time position. So like John said, the process is the same for both. We want the person to experience the full experience of hiring at our company.
So interns will also go through the same interview process as well. I'm glad Gillian brought that up. Is it is going to be the exact same throughout the way. So our interns will come in. Well, maybe not now, but in the past, it would have been you do a phone interview and then you'll come in for an in-person with the manager. Now it'll be a little bit switched up. We'll still do the phone, but that interview portion will most likely be virtual.
We're hoping not, but we don't mind virtual, but it's always nice to meet people in person. So maybe by the time we're ready to start recruiting for the intern program in 2021, you never know. Who knows? I guess we'll see where we're at. Does anybody else have any other questions? It's okay if you don't. We really appreciate you guys all joining again. Again, for those of you who tried yesterday, thank you for joining us again today. We appreciate it. This also is being recorded. So if any of you want to ask USC Career Center for the recorded session, you can go back and listen to it again if you did want to hear it any other time, or if you know anybody else that was interested but wasn't able to attend. We probably will have more of these coming up. I haven't scheduled any yet, but I'm going to work with the Career Center to do that. I hope you guys all have a great first semester, and hopefully you guys are all hanging in there. And thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that you guys came. And oh no, it looks like Kat is trying to join us right now. I'll admit her in, even though we're wrapping up. Hi Kat, nice to meet you. We're just about wrapping up, but I was just telling everyone that the presentation has been recorded, so you can also listen in. I think you just have to reach out to Kaisalyn, I think her name is, at the USC Career Center to hear this info session again. And like I said, we will be presenting again, probably in about a month or so, give or take. I haven't scheduled it yet, but I will. And if anybody wants to reach out to myself or John, our emails are in the chat right now. But if no one else has questions, I guess that's it. And thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. I reposted our emails as well as the LinkedIn spiel for anybody who just joined late. That way, if you do have any questions, if you watch the recording and maybe some questions come up, please don't hesitate to send me an email or reach out on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to address your questions at any time. Just go ahead and send them my way, and then I'll respond as soon as possible.
Me too. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Right.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you for
everybody.
coming. Have a
Take
great
care.
day and take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, John, hang tight.
Mhm.
Oh, it's still recording. Never mind. Here, I'm going to hang up. I'll call you separately.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody.